ready for football. Welcome to the NFL Pregame Report.
Good people, ladies and gentlemen, all around the world. This is your guy, Cool McCain, Pregame Report. Another week, we're getting things done. And joining me is TJ. What's going on, TJ?
That's another good NFL Sunday, man. How about you?
Can't complain, man. Absolutely another good NFL Sunday. 1 o'clock game. I'll actually be watching you guys' game as well as my game. Multiple purposes. Of course, we play next week, so get a little insight on what's going on over there in Pittsburgh, what Russ is going to do today, what as my sister would say, Russell Wilson is going to do today. And also, I've got a nephew that lives here that's a Steelers fan, so we're going to kind of hang out, watch the early game since we both played earlier today. Kind of scope each other out for next week. We're 0-2 when I watch with him. But I told him, I said, since we're watching both games, maybe this won't affect you guys. He doesn't believe in things like that. I don't believe stuff like that, but we do. But yeah, man, another week. So much to talk about as always. Oh, my. Week 14, TJ. We're already at week 14. It's crazy. Very crazy. Feels like we just did like week 1 3 weeks ago. But it wasn't 3 weeks ago. It was many moons ago, as they say in the old days. But guys, rather than hear me ramble
It goes fast when you're having fun,
Yeah. Rather than hear me ramble for an hour, which I could probably do and make it pretty entertaining. I actually got some stuff to talk about, so that way it keeps me slightly on track. Some of my fellow conspirators and being out track are not here today, so I think we'll be able to stay more focused. And then this is an opportunity for y'all to really hear TJ. Because a lot of times TJ, he'll just kind of chill in the background and allow the other people to talk. But TJ has a lot of football knowledge, so we'll get to hear some of that today. So, TJ, we'll start at a pretty simple point, pretty easy. So, 2-in-1 question. The first part: who should win NFL MVP if we were giving out the award right now? Who do you think should win MVP right now? Who do you think should win MVP?
Who should win it? Probably there's a lot of good names up on the list. You could argue Jalen Hurts. You could still argue, although his numbers are down and Baltimore's kind of on the skids, you could still argue Lamar Jackson's having a great season. Josh Allen, obviously, in my mind, probably the front runner, just because when you have an MVP, you also kind of have to have that wow factor with it. And, you've never seen a guy on a 7-9 team winning the MVP. So, the fact that the Bills look like they're at the point where they could realistically take over Kansas City in the playoffs, all the drama with Diggs and basically their entire receiving core leaving, and they're still chugging right along. Josh Allen, honestly, this season, he's looking like he's playing the most free-flowing and just relaxed game of the last couple of years. So I would say probably Josh Allen would be my front runner to win it. But who would win it or who will probably? I mean, I hate to say it, but the league's favorite child, Patrick Mahomes. You know what I mean? He's just great. Now, I could see Lamar Jackson just because of familiarity. maybe surprising it, but yeah, honestly, I think it should be Josh Allen both ways right now, because just by the way him and the Buffalo Bills as a team are performing.
Yo,
Skip Bayless is back.
hey, them takes not so hot anymore though.
It'd be like that, man. The further it gets along the season, the season takes away some of your hot takes because the team either so terrible or teams are doing better than you expect. So it's like it's not a hot take anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But in regards to who should win the MVP, this is for all of my wrestling fans. I love you, Saquon.
Oh man,
who should win the MVP. This man is more than likely going to break the Seagull season rushing record, barring injury, of course, because injury stops anything. But barring injury, if he stays healthy, he should break the all-time rushing record, which I believe he would have to do to win the MVP. But if I'm giving out the MVP right now, I mean, this guy's pretty much been everything for the Philadelphia Eagles. There's a couple of games where they've won where he hasn't had like monstrous games, but he's had big runs. You take him off of this team, there's a lot less wins in this win column. He's caught some balls as well, so he's catching the ball to be a help there. He's brought a new energy and a new way that Philadelphia is able to play, a way that we played kind of back in 2017 when we kind of had two guys to do what Saquon's doing now, and that propelled us to a Super Bowl win. Never want to sit there and say, "Oh, we're definitely going to win the Super Bowl," but running the ball first and then subsequently with the pass game, using the pass game when necessary. That's one for us before. It's looking really good now, right? So again, just to remind everyone, in my opinion, the man who should win the Super Bowl. I love my tribal chief, Saquon.
I like that too, especially when you do have a player that's been that dominant on a team he's pretty much kept them in a lot of games.
I didn't even see it coming, man. To be honest with you, I didn't see it coming like this.
I didn't see it coming, but I could see it though. My bad is what I'll say. He's been running away with games. He outran King Henry the other day. He's just been back there just quietly like doing his job, man, and getting it done. Sometimes not so quiet. Josh Allen, man, that's one too. It's like where Saquon is doing it, and he's getting some help from time to time because you still got AJ Brown, you still got Jalen Hurts, some decent quarterback, you still got that amazing defense. Man, that hit, was it Cooper DeJean that he put on Derrick Henry on that that little swing out? Oh man, that was
crazy.
Oh man, then there was a hit. I forget, man. I think the other cornerback hit him in the backfield. I don't know, whatever. But anyway, that defense, man. Whereas Josh Allen, I'm pretty sure Josh Allen's throwing the ball to himself and running the ball himself.
He said throwing the ball to himself.
The dude has a receiving touchdown, a rushing touchdown, a passing touchdown, all in the same game with no receptions. I know it was a toss back. But anyway, Josh Allen's literally carrying that team. He was carrying Buffalo into the playoffs. Granted, I feel like he has a little less competition in his division than Saquon has over there. Not much big difference. But yeah, Josh Allen's running away. And then, man, of course, Lamar Jackson, but they've had their missteps. I don't think any reason due to him, though. I didn't even put King Henry in there. But then I'd have to put Saquon over Derrick Henry. I don't know, man.
Well, see, and that's the problem. It's
a hard one.
Whenever you have two MVP candidates on one team, you don't have an MVP candidate on that team.
I see what you mean. Yeah, they're both equally. Yeah, so I can see that. I mean,
they're going to pull away. Lamar and King Henry are going to pull from each other. They can't both win MVP.
Do you think Jared Goff is hurt? You think his odds are hurt because of that 5 interception game, or just because he plays blah?
I mean, I wouldn't put him in the MVP conversation, but I wouldn't argue with someone who would put him in the MVP conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's had a perfect game this year. He's had way more really good games than crappy games. And they even won the 5-interception game.
What do we consider an MVP? Like, what's the MVP? Is it the best player on the best team, or is it the player that means most of their team?
It's lucid. It's not. It's lucid. I mean, it's whatever. At this point, it's whatever you consider it to be because they don't have a consistent thing. I do have to agree with TJ when we get to the second question, which is who will win the MVP. So for who will win the MVP, I think it's a two-man race.
Is that Josh and Lamar?
It is NFL's favorite, always there. Old Patty Mayo, King of the Queefs, and Josh Allen. But I think when it comes down to it, because he hasn't won before, Josh Allen would be the sexy pick, and reporters would pick him over repeating Patty Mayo, who they were like, oh, we can just put him in next year. Right.
I think Patty would have gotten it if the Chiefs were still undefeated. Like if they made it through the season undefeated, then I could see him getting it.
Oh, if they made it through the season undefeated and they didn't give it to him, then the NFL would go to the reporters and lock them all in a room and hold them at gunpoint and make them change their votes.
Speaking of votes, I was listening to the fan yesterday. Philip Lindsay was talking about how much of an impact like fans' votes have compared to like the reporters and compared to like the players and coaches on All-Star voting. I don't know necessarily if it's the same for or not All-Star, Pro Bowl voting. I don't know if it's the same for MVP.
MVP is all the reporters. All
it's
those
just the reporters.
The reporters. And it may be GMs may get a vote. I have to double check that, but I know it's like mainly reporters that vote for all those things, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I could see Saquon getting it though. I mean, you know, we saw Adrian Peterson get MVP, so it's not like it's out of the realm of possibility. But
the reason why I wouldn't is because he hasn't broken the record yet. He has to break the single season rushing record to get the MVP award.
And Jalen Hurts' butt will not let him do that.
That's not true, man. Jalen Hurts don't care. He'll be like, yeah, you run the ball 70 times and I'll throw it 12. We good.
We'll see. Hopefully.
Jalen Hurts,
that's what they need.
Hurts loves him. Jalen Hurts loves him. How much less of a beating is he taking this year because he has got Saquon Barkley?
That's what I'm saying. I'm just tired of seeing a tush push in the end zone. Let Saquon get those stats.
Well, when you get down to the 2-yard line, you got to go with the play that you know is going to work.
That's true. I understand that, but also let you got you there to eat sometimes too.
Oh, he's eating. He's eating.
He is eating. He is eating. He's grabbing. No, he is stuffing himself right now. He's not eating. Saquon Barkley is just demolishing everything in sight. He's doing whatever he wants to do. And the NFC, is it the NFC East, right? That's the division, man. That is his division through and through. Like, he knows it. He's been there, done that. He knows all the ins and outs. And he just has a much more solid foundation, team, crew, whatever. Everything else is just much more in place than what it was in New York. Like, oh, man.
What do you think, TJ?
I think it's hard in today's NFL if you're not a quarterback to win something. You know what I mean? It's I mean, even Super Bowl MVP, you know, you see quarterbacks with multiple turnovers still win MVP over a wide receiver who had a $180 and 2 touchdowns because it's the sexy pick. It's the quarterback. So I mean, Saquon would definitely be up there for me, but unfortunately I had to put in consideration too. They only pick quarterbacks 90% of the time.
Yeah.
If anyone from the NFL is watching, maybe you should fix that because that's how we all feel as fans.
Right. Like, just like give it to who's having that existential year, who's having that just like.
But isn't that why they have like offensive player of the year and defensive player of the year?
It's not. Because the value, right? So the most valuable player, what it should be is you should be able to be anything and be there. You should be able to be a defensive end. You should be able to be a linebacker, a safety, a running back, wide receiver, punter. Like, you should be able to be anybody. If you're the most valuable player, to your team, you should be in the running for MVP, right?
Yeah,
But it's not
true.
how it works. That's not how it works.
Well, because we see, I think it's if your team can't do without you, and that's why it's usually a quarterback, right? We usually see the biggest drop off and production when the quarterback goes down. Your defensive end goes down. You got another defensive end that's hopefully almost as good, right? You can kind of replace it. Your running back goes down. Usually it's running back coming by committee, or you just throwing the ball 30 times. Your receiver goes down, you just get another receiver. I don't know. I just feel like I get what you guys are saying. It's true. There are some players that for sure.
Well, I mean, like for certain teams, right? And that's why I think it's being most valuable, like on your team and kind of above that a little bit, right? Because, like, for instance, if you look at the Giants running game, right? It's by committee. It's not great, but just an example, it's by committee, right? You look at like the Dolphins, it's by committee. You look at the 49ers, it's by so many teams where it's by committee. But if you look at a team like even the Ravens, it's kind of by committee because it's Lamar Jackson and King Henry.
Oh, yeah.
It's by committee.
By design.
It is.
God's plan. That's God's
but when
plan.
You look at the Eagles, Jalen Hurts runs sometimes, but he's not having 100-yard games, dominant. He gets the touchdowns off the tush pushes, and it's just because it makes more sense if you're at the 2-yard line to go ahead and do a play is going to be successful. It has a low probability of not being successful and of turning the ball over. But when you look at like impact on the game, like you take Saquon Barkley on this team, it may be 3 or 4 wins. We're darn sure not 10-2. You know what I'm saying? You go to the Buffalo, you take Josh Allen off. It's not the same team. I mean, I would go so far as to say if you take Patty Mayo off, they still win because the referees are still going to help them. Right? The referees aren't going to say, Patty's not playing, so we're not going to help you now. No, you still got the referees on your side. So they still could be successful even without Mayo. And yes, I just call him Patty Mayo at this point. But Patrick Mahomes, for those who may not understand what I'm talking about. But I feel like there's certain people that like the team just has to have. I think Josh Allen's one of them. I agree. I do think that Saquon is one of them. I agree. And there are other examples as well. But I think there's only a few teams that have that one guy that they can't do without. We've seen it on the defensive side of the ball too, just not lately. But I would argue like a great defensive end. If you lose him, those stats don't then transfer to one person. It takes multiple people to replace them.
Well, shoot. PS3. We saw what happened.
The problem with corners, right? Even my own corner as well as PS3, and there's several other guys that are doing really great at the corner position, is you could be taken out of the game. Because if I don't throw to you, you don't get stats. If you don't have thrown to, you don't have breakups, you don't have interceptions, you don't get the stats to put yourself in the MVP conversation. Darrell Reeves never won MVP, and there was a time when nobody would throw at him. So if I don't throw at you, you don't get the opportunity. But then when they started throwing at him again, he was trash because he whistled without getting thrown at. But yeah, those type of things. So there's a lot that you have to look at for MVP, which is why I did want to kind of start off with this. There's just so many things that you have to look at, and it's always different. Like said, your interpretation of MVP might be different from TJ's, which will both might be different from mine, which may be different from Sam if he was on, which may be different from Bobby, which may be different for Key. Everybody kind of has their own thing because they never said what MVP truly is. But in the last about 7-10 years, I'd say it's really been the best quarterback that they feel like is the best quarterback. You don't have to be the one that wins the Super Bowl. You just have to be regular season the quarterback that they feel like is the best. And what I would like is to stop having any bearing on playoffs deciding MVP. I'd like MVP to be decided before the playoffs start. Because at the end of the day, what you do in the playoffs doesn't matter for the regular season. You have a Super Bowl MVP for the playoffs. So, just my thoughts. a little bit off the rails there, but yeah, I'll throw it out there. TJ, any other thoughts you have?
No, I actually agree with what you said.
Said any thoughts you have, sir? I was scared to see what Seth's gonna say.
I
Yeah,
think the MVP.
sometime.
What are you guys talking about? It should be Amon-Ra St. Brown or either. No. Yeah. No. I think it's a bit easier to see. Rookie of the year, though, for sure, right? Another player of the week. I mean, maybe we put him in that conversation, but I'm just saying, first rookie to throw for over 300 yards. And
Bo Nix is already in the rookie of the year conversation. To me, it's pretty much offensive rookie of the year between him and Jaden Daniels.
I think Drake. Well, yeah, definitely. But I'm still including Drake May into that conversation.
Drake May didn't play enough this year to really be considered for
That's
that. He's
why,
looked good when he played, but he hasn't played enough.
He's played well. I'm interested to see what he does.
Yeah, but he hasn't played. It took
forward.
like what 7-8 games for him to get in.
Yeah, no, yeah, I did. And he has his
3 guys that we're talking.
What was that?
What you say, TJ?
Talking about he's the only one with the losing record right now.
Who?
Oh, yeah.
Between him, Daniels, and Bo Nix, he's the only one with the losing record too, so that'll hurt his odds too.
Drake May?
Yeah. Yep. That's a good point.
Yeah.
But he has a lot of touchdowns. He has as many touchdowns as what's the other guy? Caleb Williams. That guy.
Caleb Williams is not in the MVP conversation, sir.
What?
No.
And Caleb, we trust, man. I just watched Hard Knocks. I tell you what, let Matt Eberflus tell you. Oh, wait. No, yeah, I definitely see it. Depending on how these next couple weeks go, it should be Saquon, right? I feel like, yeah, Josh Allen's had a great season carrying that team, but he hasn't really had a Josh Allen like season stats wise. And I'm just looking at it from fantasy points. It's been a down season for Josh Allen. Whereas Saquon, I'm seeing him get chunks and chunks of points every week. So, but yeah, you know, it's a quarterback-driven league. Unfortunately,
well, the voters don't really care too much about about that because they really
about the fantasy points
looked into. Yeah.
That's why it should have.
They should care more, in my opinion. But that's just what it is.
Who cares what the fans?
But guys, will move on
to.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we'll move on to the playoff picture here. Absolutely. We'll move on to the playoff picture here. We'll start in the AFC. In the AFC, we do have 2 teams that have clinched a playoff spot, which means they are in the playoffs. They haven't won divisions or anything yet, but they have officially in the playoffs. The worst thing that can happen to them is one of these teams is 6 and one of these teams is 7. And that is the number 1 team in the AFC, the 11-1 NFL's favorites, and then the number 2 team in the AFC, the 10-2 Buffalo Bills, who are 10-2, of course, first in the AFC East, and then the Chiefs are first in the AFC West. The other playoff teams as it stands today. And third is the Pittsburgh Steelers at 9-3. They're first in the AFC North, and then the Houston Texans, 8-5, are first in the AFC South. So I haven't looked at the clinching scenarios for the Steelers and the Texans, but I do know that there's a couple of scenarios where the Eagles, who we'll talk about in a few minutes, have kind of put themselves in a position to win. And after we talk about the Thursday night game, I'll talk about those because it has some bearing on how that went down. All right, so in the wild card right now, in 5th place at 8-4, second in the AFC West are the Chargers. In 6th place right now with 1 more loss, 8-5 Ravens, who are second in the AFC North. Of course, they're on bye this week, so a good chance to, if the Chargers can lose, maybe gain some ground, hop over them. If the Chargers win, it'll just solidify them in 6th place. And then in 7th place, surprisingly, shockingly from the beginning of the season, the 8-5 Denver Broncos, who are third in the AFC West. They are also on bye. Chargers play the Chiefs. Texans are on bye as well, right? Steelers play Bills, of course, play the Rams, and then the Chiefs play the Chargers. So things can look very different in the AFC after today's game. Now, bubble teams on the outside looking in. I'm really going to focus on the teams that have 7 losses or less. I think that's still a little iffy with only like 5 games left, but we'll at least go there. So 6 and 7, we have the Colts in 8th place, second in the AFC South. And then at 5 and 7, we have the Dolphins. They're second in the AFC East. And honestly, I feel like everyone else really is. They may not be mathematically eliminated, but they're, in my mind, they're pretty much eliminated. And then teams who actually are eliminated, we've got the 3 and 10 Patriots. They're out. They're on bye. We've got the 2 and 10 Jaguars. They're out of there. And then the 2 and 10 Raiders. And it feels like the Raiders, and I call them the Jaguars. The Raiders, the Jaguars, and the Giants are fighting for the number 1 pick. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. So all 3 of them are really bad. Just want to throw that out there. All right, so in a few minutes, we're going to talk about who we think is going to be those wild card teams. So we'll come back to that, stick a pin in it, guys, and we'll go through the NFC real quick, and then we'll talk about who we think is going to, maybe jump somebody or make a move in these playoff scenarios. All right, so in the NFC, only one team today that's clinched, and that's the 12-1 Detroit Lions. They had already clinched last week. They're first in the NFC North. Second, at 10-2, first in the NFC East, is the Philadelphia Eagles. They do play the Carolina Panthers today. The Lions played the Green Bay Packers and won. Now with the Eagles, they had about 7 scenarios to clinch. The 2 most interesting ones were involving the Rams, involving the Lions winning, and they did win. So a couple of things happened today. The Eagles win, a couple of the teams lose, and they're going to be in today. I won't take the time to go through the different scenarios. We went over that. If you want to check out the Eagles Elite podcast from Wednesday, we broke down the different, more feasible scenarios. So quick pop, you can go there, youtube.com/Eagles Elite podcast. Check out this week's episode if you're interested in seeing that breakdown of how the Eagles can clinch. All right, and third place at 7-5, the Seattle Seahawks, 7 and they're first in the NFC West, but that's a tight division. It's what I like to call. I spent a lot of time growing up in Georgia. What I like to call Nat Booty tight, which is a very tight, very tight race there. All right, and in fourth place at 6-6, this is where it starts to get ugly, is the Atlanta Falcons. And I got to be honest, the Falcons don't look like a playoff team. They do not look like they belong in the playoffs, with Kirk Cousins being great and horrible sometimes in the same game, but definitely in the same season. But for now, they are there. And Seattle does play Arizona, so that could have a big they can have a big part of what's going to happen with the playoff picture, because it's a divisional game and that division is really tight. The Falcons play the Vikings. Falcons are 6-6, of course, first in the NFC South. And then the Vikings, 10-2, they're second in the NFC North behind those dead blame Lions. Right? So they're like, the Eagles are like, yo, can y'all lose some games, please? But so they're the first wild card team. Second wild card team lost to the Lions, and that's the Packers at 9-4, the third in the NFC North. And then sliding in as the last wild card team as of now, the Washington Commanders at 8-5, second in the NFC East. They're on bye this week, so their position won't be hurt because there's nobody with 7 wins, so they'll still be there after the week's over. Packers play the Lions, of course. Vikings play the Falcons. That'll be interesting. The Eagles play the Panthers. And then Lions and Packers, of course, have already paid this week. All right, so teams with 7 or less losses, because like I said, once you get past 7, like, you may not be eliminated, but you're eliminated, in my opinion, by this point in the season.
Unless you're in the NFC South.
So what?
Unless you're in the NFC South.
Yeah. So whenever we say these things, we always discount the NFC South because it's the NFC South. But yeah, you are correct. So in 8th place, speaking of the NFC South, at 6-6, you've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're second in the NFC South. They play the Las Vegas Raiders. I have a feeling they're going to win that game. We will talk about that later, but something tells me they may have a good chance to win that game. At 6-6, we have the Cardinals, second in the NFC West. next. And we have the Rams, who are also 6-6. They're third in the NFC West. They play the Bills. And then, couple of stretches to me, but I'll still include them at 5-7. The San Francisco 49ers, fourth in the NFC West, and they're only one game out. That tells you how close that is. And then 5-7, third in the NFC East, the Dallas Cowboys. So those would be your teams with 7 wins or less, which I feel still have an opportunity. Like I said, if you already got 8 wins, the way the NFC East is playing out this year, you may not be eliminated. You can play spoiler, but you're pretty much eliminated. And then teams that have been mathematically eliminated, of course, there's only the Giants, who are 2-10, fourth in the NFC East. They have been mathematically eliminated from playoff contention, even though the Panthers only have 1 more win. So hopefully we can take care of that today and go and get them eliminated so they can just take it out on other people that they don't have a chance to make the playoffs. All right, so normally we'd stop and talk about the teams and what we think is going to happen, all that good stuff. But the reason that we did not is to allow these two gentlemen to give you their thoughts on some questions that were brought to me, to my attention, specifically by these two gentlemen. So, playoff prediction questions. First one here, I believe this one was TJ. Who benefits the most from the number 1 seed, from being the number 1 seed in each conference? So, TJ, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Sid. Who do you think benefits from being the number 1 seed in each conference the most?
Well, in the NFC, for me, it would be the Philadelphia Eagles because, the Detroit Lions, obviously, they're in the driver's seat for it, but they've proven this season, specifically a few weeks ago in Houston, that even on the road, they can fall behind and still win the game. The Eagles, in my opinion, they play a lot better at home. They need that kind of home field advantage with the fans cheering when things aren't going their way. Fans are booing to help minimize the momentum swing against them, stuff like that. So it would be the Eagles in the NFC. In the AFC, obviously as a Steelers fan, I would say the Steelers because we need all the help we can get. But I think they're too far outside to sneak back into that realm thanks to the Cleveland Browns game a few weeks ago. So I'm going to say the Buffalo Bills just because you saw it the other night. In reality, on paper, in a perfect weather game, Bills and Dolphins, with the way the Dolphins had been playing lately, should have been a pretty good game. But it was a blowout because of the weather. But that's exactly why they need that kind of help. They need the weather. They need the fans with their backs, especially if it comes down to another Kansas City divisional or conference championship matchup. They want to be at home hearing the fans boo Mahomes, not boo them.
Thought you said?
Yeah, I'll start with the AFC. I'm going to say the Chiefs. I was going to say for the weather too, but not quite. It doesn't look like there's any teams in the playoffs that'll be affected. And the AFC side, it'll be affected by the weather. I mean, the Dolphins are 9th down. I don't think they're going to leap over the Colts and the Broncos. So even the Colts, I think, well, Colts playing a dome, right? Yeah. Anyway, I think the Chiefs will benefit from playing at home, man. Just the playoff conditions, it starts to tighten up, and you really need that running game. They haven't, now they got Pacheco back. Their running game doesn't look as solid or maybe what it could be. I just think them being around their home crowd and having Taylor Swift there could give them a lot of energy, to come kind of overtake and keep it going. So I think the Chiefs could use that bye, to kind of make sure they're right, and really make sure they're ramping it up and see, all their older players are getting there. Kelsey's getting up there, so he kind of needs some time off the rest, and then get it right. And then, I don't, the Chiefs went into Buffalo last year and pulled off the victory. I don't see them going into Buffalo again in the playoffs and pulling off a victory. So I think they do need that bye week. Then going over to the NFC side, I think the top 3 teams have pretty much almost the same records at home. They each have 1 loss. The Lions, the Eagles, and the Vikings. But
not the top 3 teams because
Oh
The
yeah,
Vikings
well the Vikings are down
can't lose.
there. Yeah, so
Yep.
I mean, yeah, just like the Vikings, man, can benefit from it just because, yeah, if they
Yeah.
don't get that first seed, then they do drop down to, you know, like the 5th seed. So they end up losing home field anything altogether and having to go out on the road. And I mean, the Vikings have looked pretty good, but they have looked a little shaky on the road. There's been some games where they had some real big duds, like some crazy duds on the road. So, they just kind of get exposed when they're away from their home crowd for sure. So I'm gonna call it on the Vikings for the NFC side.
So for the AFC, I'm going to go with the Bills. The Bills could use the week off to help plan. You've got a lot of guys that, well, maybe not horrible. Amari Cooper is basically your number one wide receiver. So that tells me everything I need to know about the Bills. Need extra time to prepare and get guys ready, and spreading the ball around has to be a must in Buffalo because your number one is Amari Cooper. We know Amari Cooper, when he's focused, when he's dedicated, can be great, but that does not happen for a full season, or it has not yet. So there's that. They play in the cold, and they play in the extreme cold in Buffalo. So they play in that kind of like nasty cold. Even if you're used to cold, it's like going to Lambeau. It's that type of cold. Like, it's nasty cold. So I know that the NFL's favorite went there and won last year, but when you're the NFL's favorite, you're the NFL's favorite. So they can be on the road or at home. They're still the NFL's favorite wherever they go. I think Buffalo could benefit from that cold weather, extra week off, watching teams being able to have more time to prepare for who they're going to play, being able to install that playbook right after that game. So if you're looking at it and you see, I'm going to play, Denver right next week, I can go ahead and start working on installing that plan Sunday night after their playoff game, or Sunday if they play Saturday, and have that extra time to prepare. I think that makes a big difference. So I think that would benefit them the most. In the NFC, I'm going to say the Lions. Pretty much for the same reasons you said the Vikings. I mean, Lions, they love to go for it on 4th down, right? Their coach is one of those go for it guys like Nick Sirianni is at times. He's peeled back some, but they're another one that's just like that. They got all the way to the championship game last year, and then not being, at home, it didn't work out for them. So maybe having that game at home, they feel more comfortable. They play better. Speculation on the past, but I think this team is better at home, and I think most teams are better at home. I think when you get a team that's better on the road, it's weird. It's an anomaly. Most teams play better at home. You're sleeping in your own bed. You have your routine down, your timing, your family. Everything's just good to go. So I think the Lions and the Bills would benefit the most. But I don't disagree with you guys' thoughts on it as well, because it can be more than one team that can benefit from home court. We all know that. So definitely they would do a good job of hitting those that need that. All right. So the second question: who gets in as the wild cards? So we went through the team. So just in case you're not looking at it, you're listening, watching, get the info again. So at number 5, the Chargers, 8-4. Number 6, the Ravens, 8-5. 7, the Broncos, 8-5. On the bubble, still having a chance. The Colts at 6-7. And the Dolphins, outside shot, but still a shot at 5-7. All right. And then in the NFC, Vikings at 10-2, Packers at 9-4, Commanders at 8-5, still a shot. Bucks at 6-6, Cardinals at 6-6, Rams at 6-6, 49ers at 5-7, Cowboys at 5-7. Even though the 49ers and the Cowboys both have, a little bit more of a hill to climb, still a possibility. We'll flip it up. Sid, you go first on this one, and then TJ, you follow him. Who you got, Sid? Who's your
the AFC is locked up. Broncos got that last spot. We'll just see what happens between the Chargers and the Ravens. I think the Broncos still play the Chargers again. So that'll probably shake some stuff up. But I mean, yeah, the Broncos are playing the Colts next week, so who knows? They could go off on a tear as well. I don't think so, but they could. And there's 3 games left.
There's 4 games after this week.
Yeah. So I mean, with that, they they could definitely go on a tear and kind of maybe do some damage. But I don't think I see any other teams getting in outside of them though on the AFC side. So yeah, I'd say maybe the Colts, but I feel like it's kind of locked up at the Broncos. And then yeah, jumping over to the NFC side though, I mean, there's a lot of things that could shake up over there for sure. Especially with that NFC South. I know Atlanta. Um, I think they beat the Buccaneers twice already. So I don't know if the Buccaneers can necessarily jump them unless there's something crazy to happen with Atlanta's record. But even still, like it's still kind of like the bizarro verse version of the NFC North, right? Where one team could possibly overtake the first team and then they could jump the other one down. Whereas it probably would knock out whoever has the lower record in the NFC. So I mean, I can see Tampa Bay maybe doing something. Other than that, yeah. It seems like it's pretty locked up. Are the Commanders in?
They are.
They're one of the wild card teams already. So yeah, I mean, I feel like aside from maybe Tampa Bay, I don't. Well, the NFC West, yeah, maybe Arizona Rams could do something, but I don't know, man. I think, well, I mean, Seattle's lost it before, so we'll see. We'll see in these next few games. But I say Tampa Bay.
Says question, by the way.
Yeah, Tampa Bay.
This question.
Yeah, Tampa Bay or Seattle. Yeah, because it's kind of, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of locked up, but there could be some drama going into these next few weeks. But I think it'd probably just only be drama in like the NFC South.
What you got, TJ?
In the AFC, I agree with Sid. It's for the most part locked up. Both pretty much all the teams that are on the bubble, being the Colts, Dolphins, and you can argue the Bengals, but again, they're already at 8 losses. So, with the worst wild card team having 8 or being 8-5 with both the Ravens and Broncos, they would really have to fall off. And I know the Ravens have been on a skid. Broncos just seem to be getting hot at the right time. They're playing probably their best football right now. But even with the Ravens hitting the skids a little bit, I don't see them being more than probably a 6 or 7 loss team at the end of the year, unfortunately, even though they're, the Ravens. But yeah, so the AFC, in my opinion, for the most part is locked up. For me, the intrigue is the NFC, just because you have a lot of stuff going on, especially for that last spot. The tricky part with the NFC is the Lions, Vikings, and Packers all being in the same division, because you figure even if they swap losses or even if stuff at the top with the Eagles and Lions switch, it's still going to be basically those 3 teams with maybe a max of 5, maybe a 6th loss total. And you're already looking at the number 7 seed being 8-5 with the Commanders. So I don't really see too much swap, maybe placement of a couple teams. But for the Commanders, though, I could see them maybe getting in a little bit of a race with the Buccaneers, depending on how they do. You could argue the Cardinals as well, because both the Buccaneers and Cardinals, they're playing so hot and cold this season. There's a 2-3 week stretch where they look, unstoppable. Baker, Call of Duty, and he's, focused on football for once. Then, you go through a 2-game stretch where Baker's fumbling the ball, throwing picks, and Kyler Murray, doesn't even look like he's paying attention in the game. So hold down and win enough games to do it, because they've had a couple games this season as well where it's kind of been a little wishy-washy for them. So that really the 7th seed in the NFC is really the only one I could see having a totally different name come the end of the regular season. But again, the AFC is pretty much locked up.
Yeah, for the AFC, I think, and I'm not that big of a possibility, but a slight possibility of somebody Broncos for the 7th seed. Now it have to be like either the Colts or the Dolphins. Like no one's going to win their divisions over the guys. I don't think that are already at the top of the division. The Chargers are 8-4 at 5th, and then the Broncos 8-5, and then the Broncos are on bye this week. So possibility, depending on what happens with the Chargers, they could end up falling depending on tiebreakers with like the Broncos and the Ravens if they lose this week, and they are playing the NFL's favorite, so it's going to be hard to beat the NFL's favorite. But I think it's an outside chance that 8th or 9th, which are the Colts and Dolphins, maybe slide up and get whoever's in 7th, whether that's the Broncos or somebody else. But not a lot of movement, I don't think, there. Now, the NFC for me gets very intriguing because you got to look at the NFC West. Seahawks are 7-5 in first. But at 6-6, you have the Bucks and the Cardinals. So they're literally a game behind. And then you have the 49ers at 5-7. They are 2 games back at this point, but they have 5 games to play. They play Chicago today. They beat Chicago. They're at 6-7, right? Depending on what the outcome of the Seahawks and Cardinals game, because they play each other, one of those guys have to lose. So either the Seahawks are going to be 7-6, or they're going to be 8-5, and then the Cardinals are going to be 6-7. So the 49ers are going to at least be tied for bottom after this week. And the Bucks play the Raiders. So the Bucks have a good chance in the NFC South. So we look at the South. I don't think the Falcons are going to be the team when the season's over. I think it'll be the Bucks. I think the Bucks are more consistent. They now have Mike Evans back. Mike Evans is a big part of what they do. Without him, this does not look like the same team. But he is back. So he's that go-to blanket for Baker Mayfield. He'll spread the ball around. He'll throw it to anybody. He doesn't give a crap. But I think you need that guy that you say, when I need a throw to be made, I know if I give it to him, he's probably going to make that throw. And having Mike Evans back should be beneficial. I do think the Bucks are the best team in the NFC South, and I think they'll end up winning it. I don't know about the West. I think the 49ers are pretty much done with all their injuries, but they can surprise us and win the next 5 games and end up winning this division by game. And it's everybody really still alive, right? You got the 49ers, you got the Rams, and you got the Cardinals. You even look at the standings outside of the playoffs, and you've got the Rams, you've got the Cardinals, the Rams, and the 49ers right there together. Like, they're that close. I think Cardinals make the most sense if they win today. I really don't think they're going to win, though. I'm going to say either the Rams or the Seahawks. I don't think it's going to be the Seahawks, though, because Geno just but he can surprise you at times. You think he wrote back, but then he didn't, or the letter got lost. Don't know.
Got them unread.
Yeah, so we just don't know. But I don't think it's going to be Seattle. I'd probably say it's going to be the Rams if I was forced to make a pick now. So I think we're going to have the Buccaneers and the Rams move in. I think we're going to have the Falcons and the Seahawks move out. But I've been wrong several times. I've been right a lot, but I've been wrong several times, so I could be wrong on that. As far as the 7th seed, Commanders are on bye today, so they can't lose. After the games today, I think they'll be in a better position. But I think what's going to happen is Tampa's going to jump the Falcons. I think the Falcons will lose. Tampa will jump in there, and then they're not going to give it up. So that's what I think is going to happen. It'll be interesting to see what actually does happen. But good question, Sid. Good question, TJ. I like those questions. Great job, guys. Collaborative over here, y'all. Collaborations. All right. Thursday night football. We had the Lions and we had
The Packers.
So Lions won. There's a couple of things that we could talk about. But what I'm going to do is study here in my mouth is I'm going to throw it to TJ. TJ, what are your thoughts on the Thursday night football game?
I thought it was a great game. Lions really came out in the first half. But they kind of let, obviously the Packers ultimately, everyone's going to talk about that fourth down at the end of the game. It was like, why would you not take a guaranteed 3? I can see it though. It happens all the time. All you need to hear is the Bills Chiefs playoff game. They did it in 13 seconds. So anything's possible. That he wanted to solidify that his team was going to be the last team kicking the football or touching the football period in regulation. And it worked. In my opinion, he lives by it and he dies by it. You got to respect that. Last year in the NFC Championship game, he could have put his tail between his legs. He didn't. He said, hey, we got here with it. So we kept doing it. It happens. Move on. This season, even with Goff falling down on the handoff because one of his linemen stepped on him, they still got the playoff and they still just sure-willed it to a first down. What I think it really showed was, though, even though the Packers lost, it was a great measuring stick game for them because the Lions are considered the best team, if not just in the NFC, possibly the entire NFL, and they went toe-to-toe. They got down early, but they fought their way back in. They even took the lead, once or twice in the fourth quarter. So I think this game, if it doesn't say anything, it doesn't necessarily prove that the Lions are the best team in the league. It definitely helps their case because they, got another win. But to me, it shows more so that the Packers are definitely a team that's going to be feared in the playoffs, no matter where their seeding is. They can easily make a run.
Go ahead, Sid. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Man, that was a wild game. Back and forth. The Lions, man, 2 wild ending Thursday night games back to back, man. How many times they go for it on fourth down? Like every time?
A lot. Over 4 for 5, I think.
They're like 4th and 25 on their 2. They still went for it. And Goff got it. No, it just seemed like everything they wanted to do on fourth down, it was a big emphasis. I feel like Dan Campbell wanted to work on that, right? All season. He's just, man, that dude has no fear. He doesn't care. He was a lineman too, I guess. So that kind of explains why he wants the ball. He wants those guys holding up, right? But no, yeah, that was some firepower. It's crazy to think well, I guess not crazy to think. I mean, we've been seeing, the NFC North kind of at least have 1 to 2 teams do their thing almost every year. But man, like TJ said, Green Bay proved that, they can hold their own. They can hang with the big dogs too. Like everybody's wondering about that turnover in the past 2 years. They've just been kind of, Jordan Love's been showing he's that dude, he's that guy. Like he said in the post game, they're pretty good too. And they'll go toe to toe with anyone or something like that, to paraphrase. But anyway, man, that was a good Thursday night game.
Yeah,
That's
I agree.
all I got.
The only thing I'll say, I think you guys touched on a lot of it. The only thing I'll say is I looked through the rules and I can't find anything where when you're the quarterback and your knee hits the ground where you're not down. People say like, oh, well, it's because this, because that. I really feel like that play should have been called down when his knee hit the ground, right? That play should have been over, in my opinion. Especially Lions fans are like, oh, no, because, he didn't get touched. He didn't this, he didn't that. You don't have to get touched. If you're the quarterback and your knee hits the ground, that play's dead, right? If you slide, the play's dead. So I think, yeah, it's an accident. We understand it's an accident, but that's just like a guy throwing you the ball and you catch it, and then your knee hits it and it bounces out. It's still a fumble. They don't say, oh, he didn't mean to fumble the ball, so it's not a fumble. So I feel like that play should have been dead at that point, and I feel like that could have possibly changed the outcome of the game. I feel like it's a little number 1 seed love, and it's maybe NFL's second favorite brewing over there in Detroit. So I wanted Detroit to lose, of course, because that helps my team. But just as a fan of the NFL, it's like, you have to be consistent with the rules, right? You have to say, okay, this guy's knee hit the ground. And his knee was on the ground before the ball was handed off. That play should have been dead at that spot. Now maybe they come back the next play and they have a great play and everything's the same. It's fine. But that play, to me, your knee hits the ground, play's supposed to stop. His knee hit the ground, play didn't stop. So that's my soapbox thing as far as the game itself. I mean, good game, right? It's a good game. Can't sit there and complain either way. Can't really. I hate this hat. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it's sitting right on my head. But it just felt like a really good game. It felt like two teams that are pretty even. One just was able to make a few more plays and get the win. But I'd love to see them in the playoffs play each other, right? That could be fun. That could be a good game. And shout out to Thursday Night Football for actually giving us the game to play. We've had a couple of duds, but we've had duds in the regular season on any time. Prime time, Monday night games, awful for the most part. So it's Thursday night. They did a better job of getting teams in there that should have a good game. Because my thing is, if you give me two bad teams, that's fun to watch too. Because two bad teams should play decent against each other. So as long as you're giving me teams that both have an opportunity to win the game, for the most part, I'm happy. And I feel like Thursday Night Football has done a much better job, excessively better, extremely better than last year. So shout out Thursday Night Football for keeping me interested for most of the season. So that's hard to do on Thursday nights. All right, guys. So we're going to get into our game picks of the week. I got to be honest. First of all, says Cat is wanting to say something, but we can't understand what you're saying. But that's okay. We agree.
He's been talking trash all morning, man.
And then, so it's kind of slim pickings this week. I had to kind of look at it for a bit to pull three out, but I managed to pull three out kind of. All right, so we got the Seahawks versus the Cardinals. To me, the division is obviously the division is Seahawks to lose because they're at the top right now, but it's very close. Every game still matters there. I feel like the Cardinals can pull an upset and get a victory today over the Seahawks. But Seattle does get DK Metcalf back, and they haven't had him. So Jackson Smith and Jigba has had to be the guy. And while he makes some great plays, he doesn't have that veteran savvy or that dog that DK Metcalf does. So I think him coming back is going to be a boost. It's going to help that team be better. You know, when you lose your number one receiver, it's very few teams who have a number two that's as good as their number one. Matter of fact, when I'm sitting here thinking, I can't think of a team whose two's number is as good as their number one. And you might sit here and say, "Ooh, you're an Eagles fan. How are you going to say that Devontae Smith is not as good as A.J. Brown?" Because I know football. That's why I'm going to say that. So, I mean, I just said across the league, I don't think there's a number two that's as good. And that could be because that number one is a physically dominating presence and the number two has skills, but just you can't throw the same balls to them. You can't do things the same way if they're the number one. Or your number one is a fast guy who gets open, gets balls, gets good yak. Your number two is the bigger guy, strong but not as fast. Like whatever the cases may be, there's not many cases where the number two is as good as the number one. None I can think of off the top of my head. So getting a guy like Metcalf back should be a big boost for the Seahawks. He has rapport, of course, with Mr. I never wrote back. So I think it should be a good game, but I'm actually going to pick the Cardinals and what I would say is an upset to beat the Seahawks. TJ, who you got?
Man, this is actually a really tough game because you could really get pretty much any kind of outcome and any kind of a style of game. It could be a 13-10 final. It could be a 38-33 final. You know, I mean, this game really is. If you're a bettor, stay away because you don't know what team's going to show up and what kind of thing is going to happen. I'm going to solely go with the Seahawks just because they're in the lead right now in the division. Mentally, you know, since they are in that lead spot, they have more to lose. And ultimately, when it comes down to it, I trust Geno Smith a little bit more than I do Kyler Murray in a big game moment, at least as of right now.
Fair enough. Sid?
I was looking at these comments on Sleeper about this game. The first one, if it's a double XP weekend, they're going to get destroyed. Not gonna lie. So crazy. Yeah, man, that's wild. I feel like we all expected to see, the Rams and the 49ers in this position. Kind of pretty much playing for the division. Seahawks tend to fumble the bag, man, this time of the year. They kind of, drop the ball, so to speak. I could see the Cardinals. But yeah, and that's the thing though, it's the Cardinals though. That's the only thing. While I can see Seattle, fumbling the bag, I can see the Cardinals just completely giving it away. Marvin Harrison hasn't exactly been that Malik Neighbors type receiver that we were expecting this season. And when you say a one or a two, Mike Wilson or whatever his name is, he's not Marvin Harrison Jr., but he's done a really great job of being that consistent receiver that the Cardinals need. And then, like, this game is a toss-up. I don't even know. Yeah, it could go either way, just to, whoever decides to show up.
So,
I want
to give you a quick bit of insider information. Yeah. I made a trade before the trading deadline for Marvin Harrison Jr. Yeah. And there's no way I can win that league now. So Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to go off because now it won't help me.
I can see that happening. He's kind of had a pretty, like, his last game against the Vikings was really, amazing. And it does seem, I feel like Kyler Murray has tried his hardest to keep him involved. So I could see that happening for sure. And then also, with Metcalf coming back, man, Metcalf is just a beast. That guy is just, oh, man. And then Seattle's running game is really awesome, too. I can see Seattle pulling this one out, but I could see it being a sloppy game. It's a divisional game.
Not playing, by the way, too.
Oh, he's not? Oh, never mind. Then I'm going to say Cardinals. Oh, because, James Conner is just.
Zach Charbonnet day.
Zach Charbonnet is not bad, but he's no Kenny Walker.
He's not.
And that's kind of the same like with Njigba when Metcalf is out. He's not bad, but he's no Metcalf. He doesn't do the same things. He doesn't.
Right.
He can't, run the same reads or run, whatever it may be. Yeah, I guess I'll go change my thing to the Cardinals. I don't know.
Sorry, I forgot to slide that piece of information. I have Kenneth Walker in fantasy. That's how I know he's not playing. He's been out since Thursday.
See, so.
But I was able to replace him with DK Metcalf, so there's that.
So they're a good replacement then.
Oh, yeah. That's in the S&G League, I believe. Definitely can't say the name on here. Well, I won't say the name on here. Tell everybody else to say it. I won't say the name on here.
I want to know what this league is. But yeah, no. I got Cardinals winning this, taking the division, proving everybody wrong, and then we're gonna see Kyler Murray all over Call of Duty in the next. Well, I guess we'll have to wait another 2 months if he makes it to the playoffs.
The thing is, even if they win, they got to still worry about if the Rams win the Rams, and the Rams play the Raiders. So, because they could, all three of them could end up with the same record. So then it would come down a tiebreaker. You know what I'm saying? Because they're tight. That division is the tightest of booties of gnats.
Yeah. Almost as tight as the NFC South. But they have winning records, though, right? Over here in the NFC West.
Except for the 49ers. Except for the 49ers. But that's not really their fault, right? It's not really their fault. All right, so the second game is going to be, and I said they're not playing the Rams, sorry. The second game is going to be, I want to make sure I put that in there right, y'all. I'm tripping. Make sure I was looking at the right schedule because I was doing this while driving, which is not the right thing to do whatsoever. I didn't. So they don't play the Raiders. Excuse me. That's the Bucks. I got things mixed up. The Bills play the Rams today.
Yeah.
10-2 Bills at the 6-6 Rams. This is a 4:25 game. If you're gonna see it, it's gonna be on Fox. Say we'll go back to you. Who do you have winning this Bills Rams matchup?
Dang. It's crazy, man. The Bills have no receivers and the Rams have all the receivers. They should just combine and make one super team. But I got the Bills. I got the Bills pulling this one out.
Okay.
Yeah. They prove they play in any weather, man. And I don't know. Rams just I don't know, man. They just haven't been hitting. They've been getting good stats, but I don't know. They've just been too inconsistent.
Fair enough. TJ, who you got?
I have the Bills as well. The Rams, they just seem, like they're missing a piece. And, they get close or they pull off a win or two, but then they fall again. The Bills, they're just too complete of a team. They should handle the Rams today. Might be a scrappy game from the Rams, but I think the Bills still pull it out in the end.
Fair enough. This is another one that's hard. There's a lot of games that are difficult to figure out today. I definitely think this is one of them. I'm going to say Bills because as of now, I feel like they're the better team. Rams, as I said, have the better wide receiver group, but I feel like Matt Stafford just doesn't have the magic he's had in the past right now. The switch could flip on this week. The Rams somehow come out and win this game. I think that changes their whole trajectory for the rest of the season. But I am going to go with the Rams losing this game to Buffalo, even though it is a home game for the Rams. Buffalo's hitting on all cylinders right now. This is going to be like hanging out for them because they're not in the cold Buffalo area. They're going to be over L.A. Not the warmest, but a lot warmer than what you would have if you were in Buffalo right now. So I think this game bodes well for the Bills. But I would put this one as a upset alert game. The Rams could possibly upset the Bills in this game if they come out and execute properly. We just don't know if that's what we're going to see, but we will find out today for sure. And the last highlight game. The Chargers versus the Chiefs.
Boo.
The Chargers, I think, have a really good possibility of beating the Chiefs based on how they play. They run the ball a lot. They don't care who's out there. They're going to run the ball. They're going to throw when necessary, but it's a hardball team. So you're not going to have many 400 or 500 yard games, right? They could happen, but it's going to take guys that don't normally play as well playing well for that to happen. It's a possibility. I don't see the NFL's favorite catching another L right now. Right? I just don't see the NFL's favorite. They find a way in a lot of these games that they've won, they found a way to just win because of a few, not phantom calls, but things that haven't been called. Ever since the Eagles Super Bowl, I've been saying this. People told me I was, you just mad because your team lost. No. The Eagles have lost a lot, right? I've been Eagles fan my whole life. We've lost a lot. But I don't like when you can do something all game and it's cool, and then all of a sudden, at the end of the game, when it helps a specific team, you no longer can do that. And that seems to have jumped off from there and been a constant since that game in 2022 with these dudes. Like, they just things you do all game, there's no problem. You get to the end of the game or you get into a pivotal situation, they don't call things for the Chiefs. Against the Chiefs, they call things for the Chiefs. Frustrating. If I'm a fan of another team that they're playing, I'm always looking like we could lose just because of the refs, not necessarily because the Chiefs are that good, but because of the refs. And for that reason, I am going to pick the Chiefs. I hope that the Chiefs lose. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that the Chargers dog walk their ass like Jacob Fatu and Jey Uso say at times. But I think the Chiefs are going to win because NFL's favorite. TJ, who you got?
I'm gonna go against everything that I agree with, and it's exactly what you just said. But I got to go with the Chargers, man. I feel like the Chargers. I don't know, man. I just like Harbaugh. I think I just like Harbaugh. I like Justin Herbert. You know, they're due for a good season. They're due for a playoff season. You know, it's been a little while since they've been relevant, and quite frankly, I'm just getting sick and tired of the Chiefs. So I'm going to go with Chargers in an upset.
I'd love to be wrong. 1,000% love to be wrong. I'll
Hmm.
get up here and smile if I'm wrong next week.
I wish they both could lose.
Yeah.
Give them both an L. That help us out immensely. But dang, yeah, it sucks because on one hand, I want the Chargers to lose so we can gain traction on them, and both be 8-5. And then on the other hand, I want the Chiefs to lose so they lose the first round bye to the Bills, and then they have to come over here with us schmucks and see how it is without that first round bye. But it's just one game, right? I don't know. And this is usually the time of year, though, and I feel like the Chargers charge, right? The Chargers usually charger, and they work their way down and out of the playoffs. But it doesn't feel like that this year, man. Harbaugh has that team rolling, doing what they need to do for sure to stay in games that they would have normally lost the past few years. But, yeah, I mean, I think it comes back down to, teams think they have to score all these points to beat the Chiefs when really they just need to play their game. And I think like Ladd McConkey he's questionable at least. I don't know if he's out. And then I think they have some big injuries on defense. So I just see the Chiefs pulling this one out. Like you said, like they're going to make sure the Chiefs are going to get their wins. So where's this at? Is it in KC?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it's in KC.
Yeah, so Taylor Swift will probably be there too. So, if she shows up ready to play, then it's game over. So, and then, Jason Kelce will probably be there announcing it on his radio show and stuff. They just have all this fanfare, man, all this extra stuff that goes along with it, So I got the Chiefs, of course. But if they keep it close, man, the Chargers could squeak one out on them. The Broncos almost did. We should have, But, hey, that's not here nor there. It is what it was.
Raiders should have too.
Yeah, the Raiders could have beat them too, man. They are beatable, and they're beatable in the division. They're beatable outside of the division. Divisional games are just even more, man. They know them. They know what they're like. It's pretty intimate. They can come and they can pull it off. So maybe I'll go with the Chargers, but I want the Chiefs to win because I don't want the Chargers to continue to to continue to, bridge or spread that gap between us and them. Even though we already got a win over them and we beat them again, we'll jump them. But, I want to keep it close.
I just want to add a spread the gap. I just want to add a no Diddy to the spread the gap.
No Diddy. No Diddy.
Got to take those opportunities, man. Got to take those opportunities.
I forgot about that guy.
It's all good, man. It's all good. That's what I'm here for, apparently. Starting at 1 p.m. All right, lightning pick time, y'all. Let's get these picks done, and then we're gonna be done for the day. 3-9 Jets at 5-7 Dolphins. I say the Jets will jet. I'm going Dolphins at home.
Benny and the Jets. Dang.
You guys say it.
I got the Dolphins.
TJ, who you got?
Clean sweep. Dolphins over Jets.
Clean sweep. Doesn't happen much, so it matters when it happens, y'all.
Hey.
All right, next we got the 6-6 Falcons at the 10-2 Vikings. This was a possible highlight game, but I don't think it's going to be much of a highlight. I think the Falcons will play well statistically. Mm-hmm. They'll do a Cincinnati. They'll awesome statistically, and they'll lose. I'm going Vikings. TJ, who you got?
The Vikings as well. I think they're just going to do a little bit more, and Kirk Cousins, with the way he's been playing lately, who knows how many turnovers they're going to have.
This is somewhat of a the word escapes me. But revenge game, because he used to be a Viking, and the Vikings discarded him. So maybe we get a good second Cousins today.
Huh. Yeah, I'd say if the Bengals are the best bad team, then this has to be a game of the worst good teams, right?
Kind of harsh.
Any one of these guys can go off and throw for 8 million yards in a game. And any one of these guys can go off and throw for duds and leave their receivers hanging. And they both have amazing receivers. I mean, obviously, Justin Jefferson's a little better than Drake London now.
Justin Jefferson's having a freaking down year, dude.
He's having such a down year, and that's due to his quarterback play.
And Darnold do the same.
Yeah, I don't know why we thought that the Vikings because people were prepping for JJ McCarthy. They thought they're going to see a rookie, and no one really. They're like, Sam Darnold's not going to do nothing. And then you see what happened when teams were like, "Oh shoot, we should pay attention to Sam Darnold." What happened? He looked like Sam Darnold. So, gosh, man, this is like they're like the same team. I don't see any differences really. Like it just really depends on which quarterback shows up today. And then with that being said, I'm going to go with the Vikings just because maybe, they have a bit more momentum on their side. They pulled out more wins, but those are early season wins, man. Those are early season wins. Atlanta just can't beat anybody no matter what they do. So, oh gosh, I'm going to go with the Vikings.
All right. We have the 4-8 Saints at the 2-10 Giants.
Woo.
Somebody's got to win. I'll just say Saints because they have more wins.
Yeah.
Say who you have.
Remember when the season started, it was like Saints are going to the Super Bowl. It started 2-0.
I never said that.
And then they haven't done nothing. Man, who are they playing? The Giants?
Yep.
Dang, Giants are trying to get a quarterback. I mean, I don't think they made it too obvious by getting rid of their quarterback, right? So I'm gonna go Saints.
Well, technically, they got rid of their scout team safety.
Right.
A scout team safety. They had what was it? 48 career interceptions.
Yeah, after Danny DeVito beat him in freaking, I guess, practice and take his position.
That's crazy work. TJ, who you
got? Saints, clean sweep again.
Absolutely. Yeah. Then we have the Panthers at the Eagles. TJ, who you got?
I have the Panthers losing big time to the Eagles.
Big time? Man, Bryce Young has been looking like that first pick overall these past two games.
I don't care if it's Eagles 5.
Eagles defensive line, man.
That Eagles defense, man, it's just they're going to get some picks today. Maybe I'll put in Cooper DeJean today. I'm not making the playoffs in this league anyway.
So we're clean sweeping this one. I figured we would.
Yeah.
All right. Then we got the 3-9 Browns. I want to say they're the same team to me, but 3-9 Browns at the 9-3 Steelers. Steelers get their 10th win today.
I don't know.
They're at home too.
Man,
and James has not been delivered by the Lord for throwing pick sixes.
I am here for all of James's sound bites, though.
I am. That man is a treasure.
That man, I will watch all of his interviews anytime. He's
a real life R-Truth in my mind. Like if you're a wrestling fan, who R-Truth is. He's a real life R-Truth in my mind.
I think James Winston is what Geno Smith sees himself as. But man, did you that Monday night game? That Monday night game, though. Oh crap, that was stressful. That was a good Monday night game. You said there weren't any good Monday night games. That was an affair.
I said there weren't any good. I said there weren't a lot of good Monday night games.
Yeah. Well, that was a good one. The Browns, man, and they beat the Ravens. I still just fall back to that, man. They can go through and just slaughter through that division quite easily with Jameis. I mean, he did throw 30 touchdowns in the season, over 5,000 yards. Granted, he threw over 30 picks that same season.
It's actually 41 touchdowns and 40 interceptions. That's why we call him 40 for 40.
Oh, I thought it was 30 for 30.
It might be 30 for 30. It may be 30.
I think it was like 31 interceptions and 33 touchdowns. Whatever. Anyway, he threw over 5,000 yards. Jameis Winston is a great quarterback, and he's the worst quarterback at the same time. In which case, it's like fireball, man. It's just It's a detonation waiting to happen, whether it goes good or bad. But anyway, we saw Jerry Jeudy could have had over 300 yards that game. There was a couple overthrows. If we see it, something like that, with an offensive explosion like that, I could very well see them, kind of knocking off the Steelers, man. But
Doesn't letting that happen.
The Steelers, man, I just started watching the Hard Knocks, the AFC North one, man, and I kind of see, why Mike Tomlin was like, all right, we're gonna go with Russ, man. Justin Fields just doesn't have that what they need for a leader right now. He's a good quarterback, but he doesn't have what they need as a leader from their quarterback. So I could see the Browns coming in and knocking the Steelers off, is what I'm saying.
Are you going Browns or you going Steelers? Where you going?
Browns.
All right.
Browns.
TJ?
I should not have to be this nervous about picking my Steelers, 3-win team, but I am. But I'm going to say the Steelers. Hopefully they don't do it twice in 3 weeks.
Man, that AFC North, man, even your worst teams come out and ready to play. So I like that.
Just remember, just keep the empty helmets away from Myles Garrett. That's all I ask.
2-10 Raiders at 6-6 Buccaneers. The Raiders may truly be the second worst team in the league. At best, third. Buccaneers. TJ, who you got?
Buccaneers got to have it over the Raiders.
Said who you have?
Well, I mean, Dion publicly asked Antonio Pierce to draft his kids. So, I mean, I guess that kind of gives them reason to go and get that first pick, right? So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Buccaneers.
All right. The 2-10 Jaguars at the 3-9 Titans. I did not think this would happen this year, but I am actually picking the Titans to win a game. Not only are they playing the Jags, they're playing the whack and cheese led Jags.
Hey, they got Tyrone Biggums or Tank Bigsby. My bad.
You don't matter who you have. You stack the box and you let whack and cheese throw the ball and you win the game. I'm going Titans. Who you guys said?
Who is whack and cheese? That Mac Jones?
That's Mac Jones.
Oh, dang. I'm surprised they didn't get Danny Dimes too, man. They got Cough, man, whatever. I got who's this between the Jags and the Titans? I got all sidetracked talking about the Giants for a second there. All these crappy teams look the same.
They really do. They really do.
They all just kind of look like crap, right? Like this, yeah, like they either have, their quarterback's not there. They have a really good running back that's really good half the time. They have a really, really great rookie receiver. But with the Titans, who's the Titans quarterback?
Will Levis.
Oh, yeah, that guy. He's been decent, man.
He's better than whack and cheese.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, so I got with the quarterback play being much better on the Titans. I got the Titans winning.
TJ?
I got the Titans winning the toilet bowl.
Yeah. So whoever loses this, right, is last in that division? Or are they both last in that division still? Doesn't matter.
They're just both waiting for the end of the season to get out of there.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Then we got the 4-8 Bears at the 5-7 49ers. 49ers should be able to get a win here today. Go 49ers. TJ?
Yeah, same. 49ers over the Bears.
Said.
Man, if the Vikings in Atlanta was the worst good team game, I'd say this is the best bad team game. I don't know. I see the Bears pulling one out, man, since they gotten their offensive coordinator dude got 2 promotions within a month. No, so he's been really good for Caleb Williams. I think they've been playing offensively sound football. I could see them squeaking this one out. So I got the Bears. The Bears.
All right, then we have the 4-8 Bengals on Monday night against the 5-7 Cowboys. Cowboys get to 6 wins. This Bengals team is going to go out there and throw for 6,000 yards and lose the game. That's literally the Bengals all season. Said who you got?
I'm starting those Bengals players, though, because I'll take that. I don't care if they win or lose. I'm still gonna start them. But yeah, gosh, I mean, that running game from the Bengals, I could see that going off. I mean, that seemed to be the story against the Cowboys. So I'm gonna go Bengals.
TJ, who you got?
I am going to, since it's a home game for the Cowboys, I will go with the Bengals.
It's a home game for the Bengals.
That's
And
hilarious.
it's at night. And it's at night, so they won't have to worry about closing the curtains.
Yeah, I feel it, man. I mean, a lot of these games are two bad teams, so you can't really go wrong either way. Somebody's gonna win, somebody's gonna lose. They're both still gonna be terrible when the game's over.
Lights are too bright for Lamb.
Well, they got Cooks back, so that'll help because he actually catches the ball. Nights ain't too bright for him. He's been around like 80 years, so it don't bother him. But good people. We do have a comment here. We'll throw up there. So Kidder96 says, when Chisel Adonis will stream the Chargers Chiefs reaction video, he will play the sound bite of Arnie saying, "And now go Chargers, go." All right. Appreciate everybody watching. Quite a few people watching. We love for you to interact with us more. Throw your thoughts in the comments. Pick games with us. You guys are on here, but hey, watching still is very much appreciated here at the NFL Pregame Report. We're about 28 minutes from game time, so guys, go and get your snacks ready. If you're like me, you got an early game, you might be listening to the first part of it on your phone, or you're flying down the road to get to your spot to watch the game. And when I say flying, I mean going the speed limit. If there's any policemen watching, the speed limit.
Or just tell the policeman like Jameis Winston, you pray that God take that speed and tendency out of you.
And just like Jameis Winston, I would still get that ticket. All right. And just make sure you tell 4 people who you think are your friends, that may or may not be, and 4 people who are not, to come check out the NFL Pregame Report. Your destination. We try to be entertaining as well for NFL football prior to the game start. We're wrong a lot, but we're right sometimes too. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it is December. It is the holiday season. So I switch things up for the holidays. Guys, if you have brothers, sisters, spouses, anybody, cousins, whoever who have had losses in their family, losing spouses, losing their siblings, losing their children, losing parents, people close to them, check on them this month. Take a few minutes, take 5 or 10 minutes, check on them a couple of times. Let them know that there are people who care about them and people who want them here. Because I always say you'd much rather take 10 or 15 minutes to stop by or call them, video chat or whatever, and have to put on your black suit or dress and go say goodbye to them. So take the time. Some people need that. Even those who don't, it still lifts your spirits, right? So I guess technically everybody needs that, but some people it's very important, and some people it's helpful. I myself have lost, both my parents, so the holidays can be a little bit of a downtime. So having people check in helps, and I know people that are, down, more depressed mentally, and need that support. So man, just take the time, talk to people, check on them. It's easier to talk to somebody than, like I said, have to go the other route. That being said, good people, we are out. We will be back next Sunday with another, we believe, wonderful episode, and hopefully y'all do as well, of the NFL Pregame Report.
Are you ready?